Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, your first and your second step toward a great sales process. My name is Eliana Raggio and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our awesome SEO, the absolute best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the brand new Chameleon responsive website platform. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that Dealer On is still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads? Well, maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have William Phillips as our presenter today. Bill Phillips is the founder, president, and CEO of AIM, Automotive Internet Management. AIM is a preferred NCM training partner that helps dealers consistently increase their sales, closing ratio, and profits, all while holding or increasing gross by integrating their exclusive, proven e-commerce processes and daily accountability regimen. With over 22 years in the retail automotive industry, Bill was always the top salesman at every store or group where he was employed. He earned many accolades, such as #1 Internet salesperson for AutoNation and #1 Dodge salesperson in Southern California, and he's also held every managerial position within a dealership. Bill's strong work ethic, excellent analytical and organizational skills, and attention to detail naturally helped him build and develop extremely successful e-commerce departments. Bill has a bachelor's degree in engineering from Indiana State University. He's an AVV certified trainer and a contributing writer to Auto Success magazine, and he can be reached at bill@aimdealer.com. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to try and respond to you by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Automotive Internet Management are giving away some amazing prizes today on the webinar. 3 of you lucky webinar attendees are going to win a $100 Visa gift card. I wish I was eligible to win this prize. I'm not. But you know what? You are. All you have to do is stay tuned for details after Bill's presentation, and you could be walking away with one of these awesome prizes today. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's learn your first and second step toward a great sales process. Bill Phillips, how you doing today?
Doing great. How about you, Eliana?
I'm doing great too. I got to tell you, this is going to be a great webinar. I'm so excited for this this topic because I feel like it's almost like no matter what kind of cars you sell, no matter where you are in the country, I feel like the process, if it's not there or if it's broken in one part of it, it's just you're losing sales and you're losing extra profit that you can be making. So I love when people come on and talk about a great sales process. Yours is a little different though, and the attendees today are going to learn about it. So attendees, you're in for a great show, and I'm so excited. Bill, why don't you get started? Tell these good folks the kinds of things that they're going to be learning about today, because this is something we've never talked about.
Okay, we're going to look at, first of all, possibly something that in the end will be much simpler than what you think it is. Dealers that we tend to find run towards the digital marketing challenge within the store, trying to develop more business coming in the door, and what we consistently see that is if we'll focus on the existing business that's there, what's happening before we work on how to get more business, it's how to handle the stuff that we have properly, and understanding the challenges that prevent us from doing this. So to this, what's in front of you is kind of an outline. We're going to talk a little bit about why my process is what it is, why it's that way, why we think it should be, the process development itself, data organization, and then I guess we're going to do questions and answers when we're done if you have questions about it. And I've tried to cover a few CRMs in this presentation to help you understand how we construct what we do in each tool.
Excellent. And audience, of course, if you want to tweet out anything from this webinar, please do so. Please use the hashtag DealerOnWebby. And hey, tag me in it. I would love to see it too. I'm at Eliana Raggio. And if you have any questions, don't wait till the end. You don't have to. Send in those questions and we will save them for the Q&A session with Bill at the end of the show. Please, Bill, take it away.
Okay, one of the first things that we feel is important, that I feel is important, and I'll say we all the time because I have a company that does this, obviously, but the purpose of this seminar is to really help you all understand. I want you to take something, and my personal desire is that you take something away from this that you could go back and actually use at your store that would help you. The first thing that we find that dealers make a mistake, I hope you all don't mind, I'm going to use we on a regular basis, is we find that 90% of the car shoppers utilize the internet. So if you don't separate inside your CRM, if you don't separate your thinking patterns on what is an e-commerce customer and what is not, there seems to be sometimes a confusion of data. And I work with small individual stores all the way up to large groups. And we consistently find that often there's a confusion. The owner, general manager, someone at the top will say, how many cars are we selling? And they'll say, our internet department is doing 150. And when we actually look into the math, we're doing 150 and we're closing at 15%, and we do the math and we remove things that we don't consider internet, we tend to find that the numbers change quite a bit. So we don't consider a phone up, meaning someone who contacts your dealership for the very first time on a phone, regardless if they've seen it on Auto Trader and they dial you, if they've seen it someplace, if they Google you, if the customer dials your phone to the dealership for the very first time he contacts you, then he's a phone up. And if the customer walks in the front door and then he goes home and submits a lead, he's still a walk-in. We're looking for the very first contact with the customer being an internet contact, meaning they refuse to speak to you. First out, they submitted a lead, and that's the leads that we're focused on, and trying to push these leads into really one of the other two, into getting them to walk in or getting them to talk to you on the phone. So we focus, our particular company focuses specifically on customers who submit leads first for conversion. And we want to obviously get them in from electronic mode into a phone call and then obviously to an appointment. If you measure true e-commerce business this way, it eliminates ambiguity. I've had a lot of argumentative blogs back and forth with people who like to count everything. Well, if you count every single person that looks online or researches, then you've got to say that 90% of your business is e-commerce, because 90% of the customers are, very few walk in anymore because they saw the balloons in the sky or the gorilla on the roof or because you had a good location. Most all of them are using some method or format to contact the customer that's usually utilizing a cell phone device or a smartphone or using the internet to Google and find your location or view your inventory. So, and for the particular measurements of this seminar and everything that we do, I'm focused on customers that submit leads, often without phone numbers, sometimes wrong phone numbers. Sometimes, even though they submit that information, they're unreachable and don't want to be talked to. So as we go through this seminar, some of the stuff that I'm going to espouse, and to put it up front, I never believe that you don't email prices to customers. I believe it's not the first thing that you do. I don't believe that you don't interact with customers in the way that they want you to. You should, but I believe that our preference should be to bring them to a telephone. So I believe we're going to do a poll question now. Eliana, am I right?
Yes, we are. All right, audience. You got 3 poll questions coming your way, and this is your first one. So please check out the question on your screen and answer as soon as you can. The question is, when you get a lead in, how many calls are you making to them in the first 4 days? Please select one of the following options: 1, 2, 4, 8, or as many as possible. We want to know, when you first get a lead in, how many calls are you making to them in the first 4 days? And somebody wrote in, how do you classify leads from Twitter, phone, or email classification? Are you making a distinction between how you get the lead in? Bill?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. There's no difference.
Yeah.
A lead is a lead, right? And
We're looking for the first electronic communication. The customer doesn't two-way interact with you immediately. It's a one-way communication outbound from the customer to you that is email only.
Okay, so Michael, I hope that helps you out, and I'll give you another second to fill out that. So when you get a lead in, how many calls are you making to them in the first 4 days? Is it 1 call, 2 calls, 4 calls, 8 calls, or as many as your little fingers can dial? Thank you so much for voting, audience. You guys rock. Ooh, almost everyone's voted now. I love you guys. So let's close this poll and share the results. Are you ready for this, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. All right, no one said that they only make 1 phone call to them in 4 days, just so you know. All right. 22% of today's audience said that they make 2 phone calls in 4 days. The majority, 44% of today's audience, said they make 4 calls in 4 days. Another 22% said that they make 8 calls in 4 days, and 11% said they make as many calls as possible within that first 4 days. So, Bill, are you going to tell us what the right answer is?
Well, I think any aggressive car salesperson, and probably the 11% definitely hit on the target as many times as you can. That's obviously going to be dictated by the lead volume that you have and the time available and whether you have current deals in front of you. I definitely believe the 22% at 8 calls or more is the right answer, and I'm going to give you some slides here coming up, if I'm free to proceed, that verify that information.
Absolutely. Please, take it away.
So here we go. The first thing that I'm going to show you is data, and because our company has consulted well over 250 stores, we currently consult over 100 actively every single month. We're in their CRMs, we get access to their CRMs, we get access to their DMS, and we go in and we study data. And my company's now 11 years old, and we have, obviously, like lots of companies and even people in the car business, we make mistakes and we learn. And some of the recent adjustments of our process have come down to studying data of what was happening. So what you're looking at in front of you is a study on a group in the Los Angeles area, which the reason why I picked this one to show is because the data from Los Angeles, the car market here is very, very aggressive. It's very aggressive. The dealerships are located, the particular county I'm in, the county I'm in has 9 million people in it. Not the state, the county has 9 million people. So it's a very, very aggressive. I can drive to 3 Toyota stores within 8 minutes of my house. So we study data out here. I'm going to show you the data that we study here, even though I've done this same data study in Iowa. I've done it in the D.C. area. I've done it in Florida, where we study this data on people who bought cars. So the data that you're looking at is the data study on, and you can see the number at the bottom on the right, we're 173 customers. And these are customers of various product lines. There's no domestics in here. You can see the product lines that submitted a lead, and then these are customers who bought a car. So all 173 of these customers are driving an automobile. The purchase was completed. And you can see that 14% of these people, if you look at the bottom, bought a car within the very first day that they submitted the lead. So they may have submitted the lead in the morning, bought that evening, submitted it at noon, bought it at 5 o'clock. Number goes up to 18% on the second day, which I think we would kind of expect. 12% bought within day 3. It goes down to 6%, down to 4%, and I think all of you can kind of notice the V that is there, that it levels off at about day 5 and then actually starts to come back. In fact, if you look at the 30-day plus data, you can see that 12% of these customers are buying in excess of 30 days. And I think a lot of this data will actually match a lot of industry stuff that you'll see out there that says the customer buying cycle has some distance to it. And I don't disagree with that the customer buying cycle has some distance to it. In fact, some of those sales could be 30, 60, 90. They're waiting on their home mortgage to come through. They're waiting on a car that they ordered. They're waiting on a bonus. There's particular reasons why customers might be waiting. They started researching. So the next thing I wanted to know with these same 173 customers is, when did we first contact this customer? And keep in mind, I've studied this data everywhere, and it never gets far from this formula. So the next thing I'm looking at, same 173 customers, you'll notice that 67% of these same 173 customers were all contacted within the first day. 19% the second, 8.7% the third. In fact, I think you could just look at this and say by day 5, if you have not gotten two-way. Now, I want you to keep in mind that when I say contacted, I do not mean your outbound effort. I mean two-way contact. meaning they initiated a contact to you by virtue of an email or a lead. By the way, they've probably done that with 5 to 7 other dealers. And they're getting contact returns from all of these dealers, and then they initiate contact back to you. That says that if they have not initiated contact back to you, by day 5, you probably will never make a car deal out of it. So when we initially started our processes with AIM, I had a process that went out 90 days with a tremendous amount of calls in it. And I soon discovered as I went into stores that the salespeople were just worn out with, why am I calling a customer that's 9 days old 2 times a day still, or even once a day, when there really isn't any meat on the bone left. So you can kind of see why I take the survey that we went before, and I said the people in the 22% range who are making 8 calls, I think you're dead on. And I think the people that are doing 11% even have a better chance. I think those that are making 4 calls might be a little on the weak side in terms of your outbound contact effort. And I believe that the ones that are below that might have some room yet you could grow if you would initiate more outbound contact during those first 4 days, because our data says that that customer has to have that activity to actually get two-way with them.
Now, Bill,
So,
we've gotten, just now, I got a lot of activity from our audience. They're writing in, first of all, they think this graph is awesome. A lot of people are commenting on that, so thank you for that. For instance, David wrote in, he said, is that day 4 to 5, so days 4 and 5 look kind of weak. He says, is that affected perhaps related to the days of the week? Do Sunday and Monday being weak sales days affect this graph at all, or the information presented in this graph?
no, they do not. We didn't find that it did. It's a great question. We didn't find that did affect it with the days of the week. This was days of contact.
Gotcha.
Meaning this is when the customer returned contact to us. But if I were to guess, and I were to just make a guess out there, I would say day 4 and 5, if it were on a Saturday and Sunday, might be less because it tends to be busier showroom time on the dealership. And to clarify for all the participants that are listening, I'm a retail guy. I cut my teeth on the line selling cars and calling ups when they came in off the floor. So I've done every seat in the store, and I understand what happens on a weekend in a car store, and the contact patterns of e-commerce customers tend to be less on the weekends and more walk-in. Hope that helped. Hope that was at least an answer that would help in some way.
Thank you.
The next thing that I wanted to know with these same 173 customers, and keep in mind this is the customer that submitted the lead, I wanted to know what way were they communicating with us. What way were they communicating with us? I assume if they submitted a lead, they didn't want to talk to us. I mean, that was usually the assumption of a lot, is what way did they want to talk to us. So the next thing I wanted to know was, what was the first method of contact? I think you'll very consistently see, and what we found, is that it was 72% was by phone. So keep in mind, this is a customer that submits a lead, but the actual way that they interact was by phone when they actually wanted to buy. So those who bought ended up on a telephone. And I probably would like to have that background music playing through this entire webinar. Those who bought used the phone. It doesn't mean that those by email didn't buy. It simply means, in fact, what would have been good data for this, I learned something in my own seminars sometimes, is to study the percentage of time, the 28% that are on this file doesn't mean that they didn't communicate to us by phone. We're looking at first-time communication. So the first-time communication for those who bought on the internet was overwhelmingly by phone, and I will give some studies from here on out that show the percentage of the 28% by email that then went to a phone after they emailed us. So we believe that that percentage is very, very deep with the number of customers. Almost nearly 95% or more are communicating by phone at some point in time. This is a first communication method. So what I'm trying to do is lay the groundwork for what I think is the process that I'm going to show you that I believe indicates that we should be on the phone very, very strongly the second a lead comes in, because if you can get two-way verbally with the customer, your chances of sale of this greatly increase, which is why I believe your outbound process should be very, very strong in the first 5 days and should actually weaken up after the first 5 days, because there won't be much left there that's going to buy a car past that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me go to the basis of why I think a lot of this is happening in the industry, why the mistakes that we see dealers making. And that is when we go into most stores and we talk to a manager and we ask the manager, you know, where do the ups come on the lot, and where's your test drive route, and Do you have a 4-square menu presentation? What method do you use to negotiate the customer sale? And where's the close and delivery area? And who does the keys and books? And who puts gas in the car? Most managers at the store could verbatimly, in their sleep, respond to exactly what the left side of this is. Yet when we ask a lot of upper-level management at the store, if you get an internet customer, how many calls are they getting? And how many emails are we sending? And what's being communicated in that message? And what process, what's the follow-up every day like? And when does the manager get involved in that conversation? We find that very, very seldom does the management staff on the right side, can they answer that question? In fact, when we do NCM seminars, we ask, which are primarily directed at internet directors to general managers and owners, up to answer that question. We can very seldom get any seminar where even half the people in it can give me the correct answer. Even sometimes dealership personnel from the same dealership have different answers. So having a contiguous, consistent process with an e-commerce customer, the same thing happens every single time, just like the same thing happens with retail, is got to be your bedstone of a good process, whatever that is. And what I'm going to do going forward is show you what we recommend. And I'm not even sure that what we recommend is the be-all of be-all processes. I think you could adopt your own as long as there are measurement points in it and as long as there's organization to it. So the solution, our particular solution, is lead management. The first area that we talk about is data organization, which is going to be the primary focus of this webinar, is data organization. Follow-up tenacity, which we've talked on a little bit. The quality of follow-up. What type of follow-up are you doing, and documentation of activity inside the CRM. All of these are important missing ingredients that we find in every store that we go in and consult and find a problem. The second thing is manager involvement. The managers of most stores are involved at a level on the showroom floor that's acceptable. It has to be. And what we believe in is stronger management involvement in the e-commerce process. And I'll explain some of that along the way here that touches on some areas that will maybe be the focus of another webinar. And then once you have stage 1 done of data organization, the right kind of follow-up tenacity, the documentation of activity, I tend to find that we trip into our own car deals at that point in time. And when the manager gets involved, that percentage goes up, as it does even when he's involved on the showroom floor. And then when all of that is in place, we look at what's causing the flow in the top. So I analogize it to building a motor for a car or a motorcycle or something, and that is you build the engine first. You don't try to change fuels. If you're having a problem with the automobile, changing fuel won't fix it very often. Usually there's a mechanical issue. So we believe in building the mechanical basis for a process, getting the management staff overseeing that properly, and then looking at the digital marketing. Often we find dealers on the right side of this page focusing on their digital marketing and assuming that the process is built properly inside their CRM and is being operated in their dealership properly. We're going to focus for today on data organization inside the CRM, and that's the first step that we take as a company that we suggest that you look at is what's your data look like inside the tool? Where are the leads that have what happening to them, and how are they put together? Proper data flow is all the data showing up in your tool and all the processes placed of being routed properly. Do you have certain salespeople getting certain leads? Are you round robining? Is it going into a bucket and then being distributed? How's the data showing up in your tool? Proper distribution of leads to salespeople. We could probably do an entire webinar where right now 6 people, if they aren't putting it in their question to you, Eliana, they're saying how many leads should a salesperson get? Big question, long subject. It has a lot of factors that affect it. So getting the right lead distribution to salespeople or BDC department or internet, whatever it is. And for the record, which isn't a part of this webinar, we are agnostic about tools, and we're agnostic also about BDC departments, sales staff immersion, or internet departments. We don't really care if the lot attendance. We believe in a process that needs to be very consistent and not particularly on who's doing it. Proper data organization is the bedrock of this entire conversation and the focus of this webinar. Leads in the first crucial 5-day window, when I think you can see from the data that I put out why I think that's important. Future actions for all contacted prospects, the number of times that we go in and find that there are active prospects where the future actions are either not planned with the client or they're wrong. Manager touch points. Where is the upper level management of the store looking into the e-commerce process? Where do they do that at? Appointments from email leads. Are we appointment focused, or are we exchanging data? Are we exchanging data to achieve an appointment? Proper customer interaction. Big hot button for me, big hot button and why we organize the data is the right thing going on with the customer at the right time. Proper management involvement usually creates the one above it, and that is getting managers in to fly at what I call a 20,000-foot look at the e-commerce process on a daily basis. Proper accountability methods, and we tend to find that usually accountability is lacking with e-commerce process, meaning very often is the process itself discussed. Usually it's end results that are discussed, and there should be frequent meetings in the store to do course corrections and data review. This is the general flow that we look for, the leads coming into the CRM, the distribution to the salespeople, and I think you can see on the right side, this is not my process. I'm going to show that to you in just a minute. This is just the general concept of the flow, meaning 5-day no-contact leads being grouped in one spot, leads that are after 5-day contact, the leads we've spoken to today, and the leads that need future actions, that we arrive at something less than an appointment, and then leads that are unresponsive or lost, and you can see where we believe in the measurement of management into the contacted today and the future activities on all leads. So we want to push management into the spot where the blue box is putting the arrows in. We want to push management in at that arrow, at that spot is where they look for two-way involvement, where we look for two-way involvement of what's happening with the customer. So, Ileana, I believe we're going to do another poll question here that maybe will have some value to it for us.
I believe we will. Okay, audience, your second poll question is on the screen now. And the question is, how many statuses or data organizational points do you currently have in your CRM? Please select one of the following answers. Is it under 10? Do you believe it's between 10 and 15? Is it between 15 and 20? Or do you think you have more than 20 statuses or data organizational points in your CRM right now? Or then there's the last answer of, I really don't know, I have no clue. That's fine too. We just want to know what's happening at your dealership. And thank you so much, audience, for participating in our poll questions. Like I said, this is your second out of 3 poll questions, and we do very much appreciate your participation in this. So let's ask the question again. How many statuses or data organizational points do you currently have in your CRM? Please select one of the following answers. Is it under 10, between 10 and 15, between 15 and 20, more than 20, or you just don't know? Once we get a majority of those votes, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And Bill, I am sure you're going to tell us what the correct answer is afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, I'll tell you what you... All right, here we go.
See me telling you what I think.
I honestly have no idea, but let's see what the right answer is. And before we get to the answer, does it matter, like, how big of a metro area you're in, what part of the country you're in, what kind of cars you sell? Does any of that matter?
An old car guy saying it's just rubber and iron. We're really talking about people and customers and activities, and it really doesn't matter the type of car, the type of area that you're in. If a customer has taken the time and gone through the route of submitting a lead versus communicating with you for something he wants that is the first or second largest transaction in his life, and he's desired to communicate with you first by outbounding to multiples of you, I don't think it matters where he's at for that behavior.
All right.
Our job as sales staff and dealership management staff is to bring that customer, to sell them and bring them to where we want them to be. So no, I don't believe that it matters.
All right. Well, let's see what the audience had to say. Audience, thank you so much for your votes. Let's close this poll and share the results. The majority of today's audience, 38%, said that they have under 10 statuses or data organizational points currently in their CRM. 28% of today's audience said it's between 10 and 15. Only 7% of today's audience said that it's between 15 and 20. 14% of today's audience said it's more than 20 data organizational points or statuses. And 14% said that they don't know, they don't have a clue. So, Bill, let's let the audience in on this. What should they have? How many statuses or data organizational points should they currently have in their CRM?
Well, this is our process that we use. And as you can see, I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data points is what we believe is the proper amount. Now, could there be one less, a few more? possibly. But we tend to find, and I'm going to make a joke, hopefully someone out there that I can't hear will chuckle at this, and I went into a client that I had for several years, and I was trying to prove the point to a dealer that if he created many spots to put leads, that the staff would put them there. And so I actually created a status inside of a popular CRM called ABB called Customers That Ate Green Pickles on Tuesday. So we came back 90 days later. 90 days later, there were over 30 leads in that status.
Really?
To prove that when given the possibility of statuses existing, that leads would be put there. So I drove the point home with the owner by opening it up 90 days later blindly in front of him and his staff to show them what does that mean. So our belief consistently is that there should be a minimal number of places to put leads because we don't have a lot of things happening with customers. You're either speaking to them or you're not. And you either have something happening in the future or you don't. You either have an appointment or you don't. So keeping the data into very minimal numbers of spots, first of all, it makes management easier because you're not looking in a lot of places. And second of all, it gives you data to study on what's really happening with your customer. So I'm going to go over this process at length with you so you can understand it. And then when this is done, I'm going to show you where this exists inside of different CRMs, some popular ones that I have here. Obviously, the first one we're going to look at is the 5-day uncontacted process. This can be done in various ways called statuses, rankings, and different tools. But we believe in grouping your data in positions inside your CRM that show what leads only that you have that are 5 days and uncontacted, which means that customer, it does not mean that you have not contacted them. It means that that customer has not returned contact to you. They have not two-wayed with you via a phone call when you picked up, when you outbounded, I'm sorry, a phone call where they returned your telephone call, or an email that they responded to you. It doesn't mean questions in a lead. It means they personally responded to an email to you. We believe that that process should look like this. And you can see where this applies to the original data that we came on the first polling. Day one, we think you should leave a voice message, send out an email. We personally, in our stores, and I would see nothing wrong with leaving a voice message a second time, tell them they don't even have to leave a voice message on the second one. Just make 2 outbound attempts, and we think these outbound attempts should be a minimum of 4 hours apart from each other. And we think these voice messages, as well as the automated email, not the non-automated emails, I'm sorry, that we have go out, we think should actually say that they are attempting to get a hold. So the message of the emails and the voicemail should be, we'd like to speak to you on the phone. The first message, the first sale that should occur with an e-commerce lead customer is, will you allow us to sell you that we can talk to you on the phone? And if I could say that over and over and over in this webinar, the first thing that we need to do to a customer that submits a lead is try to sell them a voice conversation with us. And I think you could see from the data charts that we have that there's a reason why we need to make that happen. So this is our process that we build in through day 5. And these are customers, as long as they don't respond, the only thing that should be automated here is the organizer or the workflow that tells the salesperson what they should be doing. Our belief is that the CRM tells the salesperson what to do and tells management staff whether they did it. It's not a recording point where we put in what we did. It's a tool that tells us what to do next. The next thing would be the 90-day extended uncontacted. So at day 6, the leads need to be moved into a group that goes heavy automation and low on telephone calls. And this is what that process looks like for us. We send out automated emails along the way. This is where we automate the process heavily. And you can see we make a phone call at day 7, we make a phone call at day 30, and then we make a phone call at day 60. So there's 3 phone calls over the course of 90 days after 5 days. And the why in this is because our data says if you haven't gotten a hold of them by now, there's very little chance that you will. Now, these aren't existing customers that have responded. These are uncontacted customers who have not responded to you. You've outbounded to them by this point in time over 10 times, and they haven't responded. And this is the process. Could you adjust this and make a call at day 10, maybe a call at day 45? Yes, you could, but you kind of get the general, hopefully you get the general flow and understanding of what we believe the contact process should be after 5 days. The next thing we'll look at is 5-day no phone process. I think this may be something I'm positive some participants will take something away out of this particular area. Most of the CRMs out there don't compensate and allow you to put what to do when the lead comes in with no phone number. So often we know that there is a percentage of phone calls, that leads that come in that put 555-1212. They don't put a phone number in. Purposely, manufacturers like to allow leads to come over without phone numbers. And we believe that you should build a status, a ranking inside of your CRM that after you send the first personalized email, which means you answer the question, you ask for them a phone number from them, that you should place it into a status that allows the system to take over and automatically email the customer for the next 5 days, and those emails, the focus of those emails are asking the customer, may we speak to you on the phone, we didn't get your phone number. We look at that process like this, and that is, you can see where the first purple box at the top says, manually send me an email, no phone number, place in no phone number status, and then the status built-in process takes over and begins to automatically ask the customer every day for you for his email. We ask these in distinctly different ways. It's not the same email over and over. The next thing we look at is manager live turn. Now, our particular company believes that once a customer is brought to a verbal phone call, that if an appointment is not set, we want the manager live on the other end of the phone while the customer is there. We want that attempt made. So that's a little stiff for some places, and they'd have a hard time understanding it, but we believe in that, much like a TO on a floor. So what we place here are customers that refused an appointment, and the manager was unavailable, which often happens with managers. They can't get to the live turn. They can't get to it. So we place the lead here, and it's an indication spot for management how many people we've talked to in a day that we've been unable to get to. The live turn definition here, just basically we place the lead in there, and we require documentation from the salesperson that specifically states what happened when they tried to turn the call live to the manager. And then we move the lead on to manager approved future. And often what we find with all of the leads that we go into, when we look at what's happening with the customer next, it doesn't match what we know should be happening with the customer. Somebody out of inexperience or out of an opinion made a move on what they think the next thing that should happen with the customer. It isn't the right thing. So we want the manager conferring with the sales staff there on what we do next with that customer. And when it's in manager approved future, we want to see an action scheduled for the future. We want to see something happening with the customer, meaning our action is not we'll wait on them. It's what we're going to do next. And we want to see that the manager has been involved in that decisional process by notes of the salesperson or the manager about them approving the next action. Data organization. I'm going to go into these specific questions and go, and I'm going to show you this slide right here and how this is built in various different tools. You can obviously see that the bought elsewhere slide, if we found out the customer bought elsewhere, or we decide there's not a credit deal here, the customer has a 300 FICO, he's 20 grand buried in his trade, the co-buyers are chasing him to the lot to try and get him on the last 3 cars they bought, that this is where we would place the deal. We move it out into that data. You can also see after the 90-day contact, we move it into did not respond. By that time, the customer's been hit so much with outbound efforts from us. This is where we would perform a lot of email marketing data and push specials out into this area because these are customers that are unresponded to. And we're going to cover in a minute some poll questions of how many we think should be out there. So I'm going to go over these specific tools. Here's some specific CRMs that we're going to look at very quickly. We're going to briefly look at how you would organize, and some of you hopefully on this webinar will recognize some of these CRMs. You may be on them. I've identified about 16 major playing CRM companies are in the market. My company happens to be fluid on 12 of them, meaning we're involved with dealers that are on at least 12 different CRMs. So learning to put our statuses, our processes, and what's happening into these specific tools was important to us, and I'm going to show you where that's done. Web control is the first one. For those of you that are familiar with web control, this is where your status is. You'll recognize those statuses right there to the left. If you look at the bottom down here where it says prior to AIM, phone up future, this is a dealership that's using this also for their phone traffic. And the prior to AIM was where we grouped leads when we came into the store and started the process. We allowed the salespeople to go here for 30 days and retrieve their leads. So you can see where the statuses indicate there. This is where you place the statuses in ABB. And this is where those statuses are available inside the lead, where you pull them down and get them. ABB, like a lot of CRMs, has some hard-coded statuses that you can't remove. But you can see the statuses there for the active leads process and where we keep those. VIN solutions. You'll notice with VIN solutions that manager approved future is you both have to adjust the process in VIN solutions as well as the status. and they are not related often to each other. It's based on the way you build the process inside the tool. And with Bin Solutions, this is where you drop down again. You'd see the same processes. These are live shots out of screenshots that were taken directly out of our accounts. And then with Bin Solutions, you have to run reports. You can go into the reporting section, and you can see that you can pull up and look at the leads that are uncontacted, the leads that are manager-proof future, and the leads that are in set appointments. This is the way that we organize and follow the data inside of Bin Solutions. eLeads. eLeads is a particular tool that functions in somewhat the same way. Again, these are our internet statuses, which you can see up top of where they're housed in eLeads. You can see where inside the lead that the statuses are placed. Dealer Peak. I don't know how many of you are on Dealer Peak. It's an up-and-coming CRM that we like a lot because of its ability and maneuverability and changeability inside the CRM. Again, you can see where we place those statuses inside Dealer Peak. You can see, again, where you're able to run the reports and pull out specific data.
Wow, we have some Dealer Peak fans on. They love that you covered Dealer Peak, so thank you for that.
Yay. Dealer Socket, also a popular tool. And I will not, just for the record in the middle of this, I, for a long time, was a big fan of simple CRMs. And if there's anyone on this webinar that knows me, you probably know which one that was. But I've become, over the past 3 or 4 years, very agnostic to it and realized that all of these CRMs have their issues. All of them have things that do function well and don't function well. And just like the cars we buy, there are things we like about them and things that we don't. And you know, Dealer Socket was a tool that I didn't like for a long time, and I've really quite changed my opinion on that. And I like the tool. I think it's very functional. The staff's very responsive. So when you evaluate a CRM, sometimes it's not always about the functionality. It's how well they respond to handling issues, how complicated the tool is. This in Dealer Socket is a tool. I'm sure there's some people on the webinar that know it. This is where you keep the statuses in this. And in Dealer Socket, you have to do rankings. So one of the mistakes on this webinar that I did, if you'll notice where it says statuses, this is actually rankings. Rankings are what you have to control Dealer Socket with. It's what you can actuate processes. The status event, Ileana, can they see the arrow that I'm pointing? Is that visible?
Yes, they can.
Okay, this is the event status, and in Dealer Socket, it's one up contacted or unqualified is the only two that they have for active leads. So unqualified means there is no two-way with the customer. In Dealer Socket, when you go to one up contacted, it means that there was two-way with the customer. And then we promote the use of the rankings to help control the activity, because you can then set up filters in the top of Dealer Socket, which helps you. So you can see where we have the AIM category, and then we can filter by our statuses, our rankings right here, much as we control the statuses in the other tools. And then you can run different reports to see what you want to see. And what we believe is the simplicity of being able to view the e-commerce process very easily. I believe we have another poll question right here, Liana.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Phil. All right, audience, this is your third and final poll question. It is up on your screen now. We'd love to know what's going on at your dealership. The question is, what is your two-way contact ratio with your internet leads? Please select one of the following options. Is it 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, or I should know, but I have no idea? All right, once we get a majority of those votes in, we will close this poll and we will share the results, and you guys will all know what everyone else is thinking, all right? So we want to know, what is your two-way contact ratio with your internet leads at your dealership? 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, or I've never really calculated that. Now, Bill, this is funny, because when Bill gave me this question, he said, most people are never asked that question. Bill, isn't that what you said? You said most people aren't ever asked this question, so they never really had to calculate it?
In our live seminars for NCM that we do, it's instantaneously. The first question we ask, what's your two-way contact ratio? And we don't mean what you outbounded to. We mean the people that actually respond back to you from your outbound efforts. And I find most CRMs don't have a measurement tool that helps you know what this is. but we feel that you should know. It's a measure of your effectiveness with your outbound process.
There you go. All right, audience. Well, now that we have a majority of the votes, thank you, audience, so much. We're going to close this poll and share the results. So here we go, audience. Well, let's start at the top, shall we? Only 12% of today's audience said that it's 20%. We have an even split. 27% of today's audience said that it's about 40%, and another 27% of today's audience said that they're around 60%. No one said 80%. And then the majority, 35% of today's audience, said that they should know, but they have no idea. Bill, any comment?
I think that proved the point.
Okay.
That I made to you.
I suppose now you're going to tell us how we can, I mean, is there a way to do that in the CRM, or is that something that you have to do outside of the CRM to figure that out?
There's a way to do it in the CRM if your data is organized properly, and that was the point really of the entire organization. And if you don't mind, I'm going to skip backwards because you can see here, pardon me for this.
No, go. Make some awesomeness.
Basically see that if you're measuring the leads that are in the blue manager live turn status, you had to have two-way for it to get there. If you're measuring the leads that are in the appointment set status, it had to have two-way to get there. If you're measuring what's in manager approved no deal, you probably had to talk to the customer to know that. If they bought elsewhere and they communicated with you, they had to tell you two-way that you did that. And if you're doing something in the future with them that's based on a two-way communication that came through manager live turn, you'd have to know that. So if you have the data organized this way, you can easily arrive at that answer. So the purpose of this data organization is to be able to answer the very things that we talked about, and that is what should your numbers be. Now, I think I've already given it away at the end. We believe that your contact ratio should be 85% plus. In fact, I have very few stores that are running ever below 60%. When we go in, we find the contact ratios are usually 20 to 40%. It's based on poor outbound contact methods or possibly lack of measurement. But the numbers you should be running is you should be running an 85% contact ratio with your internet customers. And I always see the aghast look on people's face in a seminar when I say this. Our data has consistently proved that that can be achieved. And at an 85% contact ratio, you're going to flat trip on some of your own car deals just by outbounding more and getting more two-way. We believe that you should set a 75% appointment set ratio, and that's occurred more so when management is involved in that appointment setting process. We believe, and this is a number that just proves itself over and over, that if we're lucky, 50% to 60% of the appointments will show, and your closing ratios will always run 50 to 75% on a properly set up appointment close ratio when it comes in. So this is the math formula that we're looking to achieve in every single store that we're in. And this is based on the measurement of the contact ratio. The contact ratio starts the entire ball rolling on this formula.
Right. We had this question come in, and since I usually hold all the questions, but this one is specifically about this formula, so I want to throw this question out to you, which came in from Michael. He says, this is very impressive. He loves these metrics. He wants to know, that 85% contact ratio, is that after several months, or is this something that can be achieved once you make all these changes inside your CRM and start using it that way?
This is an 85% contact ratio on current leads within the month, meaning all leads in this formula are measured within the current month that they're received. So if you get a lead in September, you should be able to contact 85+% of the leads that you got in September. You got two-way with them. That doesn't mean you sell them a car. It simply means you start that interaction with them. So the initial question as we went back was, I think I said earlier to you all, I said if we look at this back here, and we said, okay, what percentage of leads should be and did not respond? It ought to be a minimal number of percentage. And so I believe that you should make much of that contact, at least 75+% of it should occur in the first 5 days, and you'll probably make another 10 to 15% contact ratio in the 90 extended. By the time it gets here, I believe 10 to 15% or less of those leads should be out here within the given month that you get the lead in.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, Michael, I hope that answered your question. He says 85%, but after months of training and development, question mark, question mark. So you're saying,
Yes.
okay, yes.
No, thank you. I appreciate the clarification on that. And we have a formula that we go in and do with AIM, and I'm not trying to pitch the company. I'm just telling you what we have found for those of you that might be new coming into a store, or maybe a general manager or an owner that's listening. How long and what does it take to get this done? We have a particular requirement of our company, which I won't divulge on here with dealers, that we sign up, because we know that the learning stage process, this, believe it or not, can take up to a year. We tend to find that we're somewhere between 90 days and 180 days to get the staff to comply, to organize the data properly, because when it's easier to go in sometimes with a new CRM where there is no habits than to go into an existing formula that we have in the store and try to change those behavioral patterns to get someone to not do what they have been doing. So I tend to find the answer to that question at least 3 to 4 months plus to start getting the contact ratios up to where we want them to be. And that is where we recommend stop emailing out prices right off the bat. Make your first activity a phone call, not an email. Don't ask for permission for the phone call. Make the phone call. Do the things that we feel are necessary to promote phone activity to get that contact ratio. If the customer pushes back and says, all I want to do is in an email, you technically have two-way contact, and now you know how they want to talk to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hopefully the answer to that question, Ileana, was it will take at least 3 to 4 months, depending on the discipline level and the size of the store, to achieve a contact ratio of 85. Could take up to a year to get an 85% plus contact ratio. You've got to change the habits and the behaviors of the people, no offense, who said that they were only doing, two-way contact 12% of the time, or only making 2 calls a day, or even 4. I believe it ought to be 10 or more in the first 5 days.
Right, right. I feel like, the CRM is the foundation of your great process, but it's only as good as the information that you put into it. So if you don't put all that great information in it and organize it in a way where you can find that information and have it work harder for you, then you're really doing your dealership a disservice. So I love this information that you've presented to us today. Oh, looks like I'm making a good point, because people are writing in telling me I was spot on. Bingo. All right, so there we go. All right, what else do you have to tell us, Bill?
I think that's been the message of the whole webinar. By organizing your data inside the tool, you work smarter, not harder. And one of the first things that we do in the NCM seminar is we say to the participants in the room, we make them open up their live and say, we want you to find me 10 leads that are 5 days old that you haven't talked to. And watching dealers go through and trying to find that usually illustrates the problem, that looking through things and trying to find a box full of square, round pegs and discover which one goes where. We spend the first 4 to 6 months saying square peg, square hole, round peg, round hole, putting the lead in the places where they go inside the tool so that we can begin to evaluate data and what's happening with the various pieces of information on the customer and where they are inside the tool. Organizing is the building block step that will consistently come out around, that has to constantly be monitored and held accountable for. Is the data being kept in the right spots inside the tool?
Well, you are saying the right stuff, I'll tell you, because there are a lot of people on here who are saying, preach it, Bill. I mean, you're making a lot of people on the other end very excited about this. So somebody wrote in, it's a discipline. So I agree. This is fabulous stuff.
Amen.
Okay.
If your data is not organized in your CRM, you don't know what you don't know. And obviously the aha moment when we go into a store is when we open our eyes and we start opening tools and looking at two-way contact to see what's happening next, trying to find leads that are in 5 days old to see what behavior we're enacting on those leads. We call it driving blind. And I always use the analogy of an airline pilot, and hopefully none of you are old enough to remember, as I'm not, when they flew airplanes by line of sight, and someone was talking them in and they were looking around to see if they were going to hit somebody. And now, if you know many of you spend any time on an airplane as I do, you know that the pilots fly by their instruments. And your CRM is your instrument. You'll also notice that there's 2 pilots up front reading the same instruments all the time. And so we believe that there should be a management staff and everybody needs to be on the same page, reading the same instruments, and the first stage of that is being organized about where that data is and where you're looking. So the more organized your data is, the easier you can find what you're looking for. The outbound activity on fresh leads. What needs manager attention right now? And if the right thing is happening all the time, with all of your potential customers and who's making those decisions. And these are the primary benefits that you can achieve by organizing your data properly is knowing these bottom things that I have in this slide. We believe these are the most important takeaways that you should get out of this is go back and organize your data and obviously increase your outbound contacts during your first 5 days. The data supports that, and know where to find those inside your various tools. And that's what I have, Ileana. I hope that was helpful to some people, the listening out there that got something out of this.
I'm sure it was. I know it was helpful to me. It opened my eyes. Audience, if you have a question for today's Dealer On presenter, Bill Phillips, now's a great time to send in your questions. Yeah, questions are coming in now. So audience, thank you so much. We're going to have a great Q&A session, I'm sure. Before we get to your questions, because I'm going to give you another couple minutes to fill out those questions and send them in to us, we got some fun stuff to take care of. Bill, isn't that right? We got some prizes to give away.
We do.
We do. All right, audience, it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at Automotive Internet Management are giving away an amazing prize today on the webinar. 3 of you lucky webinar attendees are going to win a $100 Visa gift card. Let me tell you, that is perfect. We have the holidays right around the corner, so this is perfect timing for all this. All you have to do is answer a simple question about the presentation that you just saw. Easy, right? So get ready, because the first one to write in the correct response is going to be walking away with one of these cool prizes today. Good luck, everyone. Of course, I want to remind any vendors that are sitting in on this webinar, please to sit this one out. This prize is only for dealership personnel who want to, of course, win this prize from Automotive Internet Management. So you're going to have 3 chances to win. Good luck, everyone. Here is your first question. And you had to really been paying attention. These are not lay down questions, so I hope you guys were paying attention. Your first question is right now. What is the most important thing you can do in an email to a lead that comes in with an incorrect phone number or without a phone number? Let's see. What is the most important thing you can do in an email to a lead that comes in with an incorrect phone number or without a phone number? Let's see if somebody got it right. Oh, we have a winner. Let's see. Matt Mokabi. Well, I'm butchering your name, but that doesn't mean any different. You got the correct answer, and the answer is ask for their phone number. I love it.
Yay.
Matt, I'm writing down your name. I may not know how to say it, but I know how to spell it. So, Matt, congratulations. You are our first winner today. You have just won a $100 Visa gift card. If you wouldn't mind, please send us in your mailing address and, of course, your dealership so I can give you proper congratulations. And you know what, Matt? Job well done. You can sit the next couple questions out because you're already a winner today. All right, audience, don't worry. You got 2 more chances to win here. So good luck. Get to your keyboards. Here we go. Question number 2 coming your way now. What status or lead grouping should have the most attention by the management staff in your CRM? What status or lead grouping in your CRM should have the most attention by the management staff? Ooh. Oh. Before I award this, I just want to hear from Bill. Bill, is the answer that you gave me the only correct answer, or is there another correct answer?
That's the only correct answer for what they've just been viewing.
That's the only correct answer. Okay. I am not getting the exact answer. So if you've already written in an answer, maybe try wording it differently. That is not the answer that I have. Interesting, interesting.
Looking to see who was writing down the statuses when I did it. Status, if that's a little clue.
Interesting. Okay, just so you know, I have a lot of people that are writing in the term manager live turn. But that's not the correct answer. Is that the correct answer, Bill?
No.
No, it is not. Okay, so if you wrote in manager live turn, that's not the correct answer. You're kind of close.
Take another swing.
But, you know, it's not, no one's written in the correct answer yet. Ooh, usually my audience pays very, very close attention. Ooh, There we go. We have a winner. Finally, somebody wrote it in. Karis McKee Kaiser. Karis, you've won before on my show, but I'm glad to see you're here today. And you were the first person to write in manager approved future. Correct answer. Karis McKee. Kaiser. I'm writing down your name. Congratulations, Karis. I'm very, very excited for you. Yeah, Karis, you know what you have to do. McKee Ford Lincoln, thank you so much. Write on in your address. And audience, thank you so much for playing along. That was fun. See, I told you these were hard questions. These are not lay down questions. Karis with the address so quick. I love this. Congratulations. All right, Matt and Karis, sit this one out. You guys are already winners. We're looking for a third winner today. Good luck, everyone. Here is your third question. What statuses or lead grouping should have no automated processes contained in it or them? What statuses or lead grouping should have no automated processes contained in it or them? These are not easy questions, are they? Oh, I think we have, wait, is that right? That is correct. Wait. I just want to make sure. Yep, we do have a winner. Nope, David Sharp, you are the first person to write in the correct response of Manager Live Turn. Congratulations, David Sharp, as I like to call him, Sharpie. And we would have also accepted Manager Approved Future for that one as well. Right, Bill?
Yeah, you want me to expound on it?
If you'd like, sure, go ahead. While we're doing that, David Sharp, write in your mailing address, of course. You know we love that.
If I can give all of you another takeaway to take away with this, and I'm sorry, Ileana, to stick something in here a little extra, but once you make two-way with a customer, and I know there'll be some hair raised up on this statement I'm about to make, there should be no automated processes with a customer once you're two-way with them. None at all.
Really?
Meaning if you have a set appointment, you should be confirming and setting the appointment based on what the customer wants, and all of the live turn and MAF activities should be based on customer activity, which means what their next move is should be something that you agreed on with them, and you cannot automate that. Often we see blast emails going into these customers. We see an automated process where a customer has said, give me a call back at 5, I want to talk to you. And the automated process will take over and blast in an activity that does not match what the customer actually has going. So we believe in no automated activities in customers you've had two-way with. It's based on what you and the customer agreed should be happening next. I'm going to give you a little expound on why on that answer.
I love that. And Bill, please, never apologize for giving our audience more information, all right? So, audience, thank you so much for playing along. I hope you had fun. Winners, congratulations. Now that I have all of your addresses, you're going to be hearing directly from our friends at AIM about your prizes. And of course, we want to thank Automotive Internet Management for their incredible generosity. Great questions, Bill. They were not as easy as I thought they were going to be, because it was definitely challenging for the audience, but excellent, excellent questions. All right, let's get to these questions from the audience. Are you ready, Bill?
I am.
All right. So, your first question comes to you. Oh, no. Put it on the one with your face on it. There you go.
Oh, boy.
You know, you can turn on your webcam if you want.
I should turn my camera on now so you can see what I really look like.
Yeah, you should. All right, handsome, here we go. David has the first question. David wrote in, does a customer opening an email, not replying, but just opening it, does that count as a genuine customer contact?
No, it does not.
Well, there you have it.
Customers opening multiple emails, we're looking for an action, a promotion, a call to action, which makes them email back to you or pick up the phone and call you back.
Got you. All right. David, I hope that helps you out. Certainly, if you have a follow-up question, please let us know. All right.
I think for David's benefit, I think it's great things to know. When a customer's opening email, it's definitely a positive sign that you're getting some movement from the customer, but he could be opening 10 emails. We want the one that makes him move back towards you.
There you have it. All right. Your next question comes to you from Michael. And Michael, all throughout your presentation, Bill. Really loved almost everything. I think everything that you said. I mean, he was really in agreement with a lot of stuff. But he did have a concern. He says, how frequently do you encounter sales management that do not mind share daily in this managed department? So many internet staff beg for management assistance, and Michael feels that they don't get it. Do you feel, Bill, in your travels that there should be more management interaction, that the sales staff is getting enough management interaction? And if they're not, how can you, as somebody who's maybe not in management, convince management, hey, we might need more help?
Well, I had to contain, thank you, Michael, for the spectacular question. I have to maintain my giddiness at wanting to give the answer to this. It's why I have a company. It's exactly why I have a, because I know that problem exists. It's like the police force policing itself. I do know that management is resistant in involving themselves at a lower level in this, and the change in the DNA of any store for us is when that event occurs, when there is an upper level management push. So often we go in to pitch an account, and the internet director is either terrified and doesn't want us there, or realizes that we'll be the conduit to the upper ownership and management that says, my manager's not helping me enough. And sometimes the managers hear the presentation and they don't want that either. So we're looking for a store that realizes, I think any good manager in the car business that knows, if he's involved in the car deals, at whatever level they come, that the benefit of that will be more car deals. And we usually come in to help convince management to actually do that. So I completely agree with Michael 100% that that's not a natural activity that they've known in the past. You know, people have been using their feet for 100 years to come in a store. They've been using a phone for well over 75, and e-commerce is still under 15 in terms of and much less in the past 4 or 5 years, where the management staff of most dealerships are not used to being in at the level that we want them to be in. So I absolutely agree with him. It is the first. It's actually the second marker after we get the data organized, is to prove the point that management isn't involved, to open the leads and prove what would happen when we look at a decision that's often made by a salesperson who hasn't been trained enough on how to make the right decision. It's management's job to help train them on how to make the right decision when they're at the moment of where a customer says, I have $359 for 36 months at this store over here, can you beat that deal? Any delay in the answer of that, any delay in the argument of that point will cost you a car deal. So I completely agree with Michael. I think it is one of the hardest steps that we involve, as we call the live turn conversion step, where we convert management into a deeper look on a daily basis in the tool. Sorry to expound on that, but you hit the hot button for me of what it's all about.
Michael, thank you so much for the great question. Great response, Bill, by the way. All right, let's get to this last handful of questions over here. Okay, next question comes to you from Martin. Hi, Martin. How you doing? He says, does your formula, and great formula, by the way, does your formula include new leads only, or is that all leads total?
I'm not sure I understand that question, but I'm going to take a stab at it. It's new leads, meaning any customer that submits a brand new lead, we're trying to bring them to a contact point. Really, if you look at the process and the diagram that was laid out, there's all the MAFs and the MLTs in that process are already contacted leads. We still have to process those, but they're already contacted. So this process is related to converting new leads, people that have never spoken to the dealership, and converting them to a two-way communication with the dealership. And I hope that answered the question.
Martin, of course, if you have a follow-up question, you know I love hearing from you, so please write on back in. All right, next question comes to you, Bill, from Kate. What up, Kate? Kate says, do you feel the process should be the same or different for new car sales versus used car sales, considering the turnaround time on used? Bill?
Spectacular question, Kate. Thank you. We do often modify the process with new cars and sometimes used cars, and often it's more aggressive because this is a customer that has not found your red Ford Raptor. They have found the red Ford Raptor that you have with 26,000 miles on it. So I was using that truck as an example. So I do believe that the process on used cars probably should be modified to even more aggressiveness, because when that customer is located the exact vehicle, I think they're I tended to be even more aggressive on that when they found the car that they wanted and I have it. So I do believe modification of that might be, for us, would be 3 calls a day to a used car lead.
Oh, okay. And you know what? Kate says, thank you so much, and she absolutely agrees with you. Great question, Kate. Thank you. Okay, next question. Oh, this one comes from Russ. And I know earlier, Bill, you said that you were completely agnostic when it comes to CRMs, but Russ is going to put you on the spot here. Russ wants to know what your top 3 CRM recommendations are. Is there a way you could answer that for us?
I sure hope there's no CRM manufacturers on here. Thank you,
I have no idea if there is.
So I'm gonna drop the curtain and just tell you my thoughts that still exist. ABV is what we affectionately refer to as the John Deere tractor. And I can teach anyone to drive it in about 5 minutes. It doesn't have a lot of fancy things in it. Consequently, it doesn't do a lot. It doesn't integrate well at the current stage that it's in. That company, Dominion Industries, is working hard at trying to develop something that would be more CRM-like. It's a true ILM and a good product. I would say the next tool down would be Dealer Peak, simply because of their size and reactiveness and the ability to get to someone live on the phone, their customer service, the adjustableness of the tool. We also like eLeads. Dealer Socket are probably my top. eLeads, Dealer Socket, Dealer Peak. ABV would be first. I would probably then pick Dealer Peak, and then I would probably move towards eLeads as the tools that we like. I don't put VIN Solutions and Dealer Socket far behind it. But being put on the spot, if someone said, how would I teach my daughter that's in the parking lot that's wrecking the Honda to do better, I would not buy her a BMW. I would keep her in the Honda. So I think the simpler, they're better. The simpler these tools are, the better when you're trying to change the culture of a store and change the process, or taking the existing tool you have and making it simpler, which I was trying to show you in the seminar that you can do with all of them. So right now I've become equal, I believe, but if a dealer were to say to me, what's my choice, I probably would start out with ABV and graduate to a real tool, if that's enough of an answer.
Well, I got to tell you, your candor was very, very appreciated. Many, many people wrote in saying, that was great, thank you very much, thank you for sharing. So they really appreciated that, Bill. Thank you so much for that, all right? Including Russ, who asked that question. Thank you, Russ, for putting him on the spot. Okay, your next question.
Appreciate that, Russ.
Okay, oh, he says anytime. Let's get to the last few. All right. Oh, Dave wanted to know, did you say ADP? You did not, did you?
I did not.
You did not. All right. Thanks, Dave, for pointing that out. Okay, let's get to the last few questions here. Michael, let me see if I can decipher this question. He says, what is your standard of appointment setting when engagement on a lead occurs via email? Bill?
I've never studied those statistics. And I honestly can tell you, I'm willing to admit I don't know that. It's a good thing. Thank you, Michael. I'll take that away from here. I always love ferreting out data. And meaning when the two-way contact is there, when the two-way contact is there in an email, what's the appointment set ratio on that? I don't know. We try to use those email formats. In fact, the first thing that we do is, because when an email is returned, it should go to a manager for a live turn. The email responses back should be geared towards trying to bring the customer to the phone. And another little takeaway for all of you that are still listening is go into the leads you have right now that there's only email interactions in them, and do your own little data study. Pick out 10 leads today, 20, whatever you have time to do, and open those leads and find one that's having multiple emails exchanged, and look at the top of the lead and tell me if you have a phone number. And then if you have a phone number, look and see the number of times that we tried to dial, and then open the emails and see if any of the emails you see where the customer has been asked, would you talk to me on the phone? Because we have consistently found that if a lead comes in with no phone number, and we at least ask them, up to 28% will respond and give you a phone number, or at least tell you no and why they don't want to give it. So the first thing we obviously promote besides data organization is any lead that comes without a phone number, you should engage the customer in the form of email to ask for that phone number. So I've never measured the appointment setting. I don't personally believe it happens very often. I think it's much more effective live and in person on the phone verbally. And I think our data proves that that's really when it occurs. But I don't have the exact data that he's asking me for.
Nice metric to impress on the ask for a phone number and get it 27% of the time. Okay, well, Michael was very happy with your answer. So thank you so much for that. All right, let's get to these last couple of questions. Linda, you're up. Your question is, do you have suggestions regarding subject lines that are effective? Bill?
Specific suggestions we do, which is a part of obviously the package my company sells, but I would tell you in a general scope that would get you some traction out of this would be to be creative in those. The more creative you are in a subject line, the less likely you're to end up in a junk file, the less likely you're ended up with a customer to know what you're responding with. So we have a lot of creative techniques that we teach. I think telling you to be creative. One of the ways to get creative is to mystery shop your competitors and see what's in their subject lines. And one of the seminars that we teach is going into where we put salespeople in the room and we structure emails and we structure phone calls, and it's amazing how similar everyone in this industry does everything. And so I used an example when I was on the line. I went into my first sales meeting and they were telling me to stay up very close to the customer when they came on and ask them what I could do to earn their business. And being new to the industry from the outside and being a little older than some of the salespeople are running it, and I said, I'm sitting here thinking, how often has this gentleman told this exact same speech, however many stores he's worked in? So I've developed a different practice that I had on the line, and so I tend to find that one of the ways that I set myself aside is to study my competitor and find out what they're doing. And then I do the opposite of what they're doing, because the general public has overwhelmingly told us they don't like buying cars. And that's why the true car method is out there, that the customers and vendors are trying to change the way customers are telling us they don't like the experience. And the start of that would be what you say back in an email to them that gets their attention. To start with the subject line of what would you open, and base that on what are your competitors saying. So I would challenge you to do an email out to several of your competitors acting as a buyer, have a family member do it, and look at what comes back in their subject line. So I would tell you, I'm sorry if I got winded on that one, just be creative in that and put something no one would expect you to say in that response.
Linda, who asked that question, had a quick follow-up question, and I have to say I have no idea what this means, so I'm looking forward to learning an extra something today. Linda says, do you encourage the use of the Johnson box? I have no idea what that is. Is that a thing?
You got me too.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm not the only one?
You got me too, Linda, on the Johnson box. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know that.
You're going to have to write back on in on that one. I have no clue what you're talking about.
I'm not technologically astute enough to know what that meant.
All right, let's go to this question from Jennifer. Jennifer says, how often do you do email campaigns to non-responsive customers?
I believe any more than more than twice a month is excessive. But if I had my choice, it would be once a month to non-responsive customers, since only 10 to 15% should end up out there. Definitely not to active customers that you're two-way engaged with. And that's the biggest thing I could tell to Linda, is to stay out of bulk emailing and stay out of interactive emails that are automated out to customers that you're already into two-way interactions with. It probably ranks in my top 5 mistakes that dealers make, is to bulk email out. The numbers of times I go in and we're in the middle of setting an appointment and discussing figures with a customer back and forth in emails and on the phone, and to see a discount coupon go out in an automated email, we've got specials and low interest rates, in the middle of us trying to negotiate a deal with a customer. So just another benefit of organizing your data inside the tool is knowing who to target these emails to and who not.
Well, Bill, first of all, let me say, Jennifer, thank you so much for the great question. Bill, I think your presentation was brilliant. I do, and I agree with everything that you said. I thought it was a fantastic presentation. And audience, if you agree, well, I hope we hear from you on that survey that we're going to send out in a little bit. Oh, wait a second. Linda wrote back in. Are you ready to learn what the Johnson box is? Because I have no idea. It says,
please, thank you, Linda. Thank you very much.
It's type that you put in white text at the beginning of an email. It won't show in the actual email. However, if they are looking at their email on a mobile device, it's what they will see first. Huh. I did not know
Linda is doing the next seminar with me. Thank you, Linda.
Oh, Linda, I don't think
answer IQ questions by AIM. Thank you. Linda, that's spectacular. I think thank you for helping all of us. I didn't know that.
Oh, Linda said done. What's the date? And Christy said it works great. So apparently there's Johnson box is a thing. I've never heard of that before. Thank you so much for educating us on that, Linda.
I wrote that one down, Johnson box.
We're going to do a little bit more research on that. So thank you so much for that. Okay, well, I want to let you know, audience, if you want more information from Bill, he's an extremely accessible guy, very fun to talk with. I promise you, he and I, in our short relationship, have had some great conversations. So please take the opportunity to reach out to him. He's a great guy. And obviously, great information in this presentation. Please share it with your friends and colleagues. Of course, we've gotten to all of your questions today. We're going to be posting this webinar online at dealeron.com/webinar, where you can check out our upcoming webinar schedule and access any of our past webinars. If you want to see this one, click on the link on the right-hand side that says On Demand Webinars, and you can check out our webinars from the past as well. And yeah, like I said, I thought this presentation was brilliant. If you agreed, or even if you disagreed, hey, we want to know. We're going to send you out a short survey in just a moment when I close out this webinar. And when we do, please fill it out. It's very short. Let us know what you thought. Rate him as a speaker and give us your feedback. It's very important to us. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So if you want a Google prize, you got to fill out that survey, okay? Now, invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar. How to make the most effective online inventory listings. Bill, you can go to the next slide. There you go. And I
one cued.
You two were perfect up until then. All right, but let me tell you, audience, HomeNet, I mean, like we all have HomeNet, right? HomeNet has never done a webinar outside of HomeNet. Guess what? I got one for you, baby. All right? We got somebody from HomeNet who's going to talk about how to make your inventory listings go boom. All right? So changes that you could make today on your online inventory listings could make a huge difference in the amount of cars you sell. In recent years, an increasing amount of dealers are focusing efforts on new and used car online merchandising. This is a good thing. It's proven that including additional photos, descriptions, dealership branding to advertisements greatly increases your online traffic and vehicle sales. So while merchandising was a time-crunching afterthought years ago, it is now a necessity for online advertising success. However, many dealerships aren't maximizing their online merchandising to its fullest potential. Do your online inventory listings need a boost? Well, in this exciting one-hour webinar, Russ Daniels from HomeNet is going to share best strategies and cutting-edge techniques about online merchandising that's going to work for you and your dealership. This presentation will highlight industry trends, survey data, and online studies that culminate in best practices for both new and used car merchandising. Attendees will leave with easy-to-implement strategies sure to bring sharp improvements to every dealership's online merchandising strategy. If you want to know how to make the most effective online inventory listings, then this is a must-see presentation. So don't miss it. Don't forget, our weekly webinars are held every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We have some awesome webinar subjects planned to close out 2014. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, hey, contact me directly. I love hearing from you. My name is Eliana Raggio. I am everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm on all the automotive social networks. So track me down online or email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one. Take care.